again. I'm at Geneva Airport in Switzerland to fly DeltaOne back to JFK in the United States. I arrived into Geneva on another flight from another non-Schengen area destination, which means I didn't even have to go through customs upon arriving in Switzerland. Even though there was no gate listed, Delta only flies once a day from Geneva and I could see the plane, so I knew where it was leaving out of. Because I didn't stop by the Delta ticket counter first, I did need to have my passport swiped at the gate. My aircraft for this flight is N836MH, a Boeing 767-400ER that was delivered directly to Delta in December of 2000. Before I knew it, it was time to board my aircraft, which is actually the same exact tail number that brought me here to Geneva. My DeltaOne seat for this flight across the pond is 8D, a window on the right side of the aircraft. Even though it was a daytime flight, I was provided a blanket, a pillow, as well as slippers. There were also headphones to borrow, as well as a water bottle. Pre-departure drink was either orange juice, champagne, or water. They also came around with the menus and took our orders for the main course, but I'll go over what I got once we are in the sky. To see what the current menu is for whatever date you're watching this is, go to the beginning of this clip, pause it, and scan the QR code on the menu. I'm going to stop talking until we get in the sky, that way you can hear the sounds of the engine start as well as the takeoff.
Nous vous demandons de rester assis avec votre ceinture de sécurité attachée. Repliez vos tablettes et rangez vos bagages à main.
out, let's take a look at some of the features of DeltaOne seats. On the left inside armrest, there was a button that controls this little lamp here that's just behind your head. In the same location, there's also a button that turns your seat number on the outside of your seat to red for Do Not Disturb when you're sleeping. A duplicate button for this Do Not Disturb light, as well as the small lamp beside your head, also exists on the more in-depth panel near your shoulder level. Near that same location around shoulder level, there's also a USB-A port, a universal plug that covers most of the places that Delta would fly this plane, and a two-pronged headphone jack for the headphones that they let you borrow during the flight. Means if you're in an even row like I was, this table is between you and the aisle, whereas if you're in an odd numbered row, the little table is going to be between you and the window, and you'll be closer to the aisle. It kind of took me a second to figure it out, but if you push in and listen for the click, then your tray table will come out of this area. If you open this little flap here, there's a small mirror, as well as a remote that is attached to a string that retracts back into the armrest. It wasn't long before we reached our initial cruising altitude of 35,000 feet, and they brought around a hot towel so we could prepare for the meal that was to come out very shortly. First was the drink cart that also had warm nuts as well as the tablecloth for the meal. For starters, I went with prawns with celery root cream and turnips, and the mixed green salad that came with the stone-baked roll. About an hour after takeoff, and as we were passing the northern French coastline, is when our main course came out. We had a choice of 3 options, of which you can pause and read here. And the option I went with was the herb-filled chicken breast, which had infused potatoes, leek puree, carrots, and celery root. About 30 minutes after the main course, they brought around a dessert cart, which had either an almond and hazelnut cake, a make-your-own ice cream sundae, or a fruit and cheese plate. I chose the almond and hazelnut cake, which was really good. About 30 minutes after the dessert came out, or 2 hours after taking off from Geneva, they turned the cabin lights down so people could sleep and relax. This button on the previously mentioned armrest panel converts your seat right into a bed. This is what your lie-flat seat looks like if you were standing in the aisle. I'm only 5'4" for reference, so I had a lot of extra room. I turned my seat to Do Not Disturb, shut my curtain, and went to sleep for a while. At some point while I was sleeping, they brought out a tray of warm cookies, which I ended up missing, but it's no big deal. When I woke up, we were at 38,000 feet, and there was about 2 hours left in the flight. I put my seat in a more upright position and settled in for my second movie of the flight. At about an hour and a half left in the flight, they turned the cabin lights to pink and orange, simulating a sunrise and the need for passengers to start to get up. About an hour before landing, they came around with our pre-arrival meal, which was either a tomato and basil pizza or a cold plate, I chose the first option, which came with an arugula salad, balsamic dressing, as well as a mini dessert. Before we knew it, we were over Boston and beginning our descent into JFK. Just before landing, they did come around with some chocolate for those passengers in DeltaOne.
Commencez notre descente initiale vers New York. Veuillez ranger vos bagages cabine et attacher votre ceinture de sécurité. Le personnel de bord passera bientôt dans la cabine, alors vérifiez son les bouchées.
Another great flight with Delta, especially in their DeltaOne cabin. Great crew, amazing food, and a fun fact is this was actually the last time I boarded a Delta flight using their old boarding groups, as a few weeks after this they switched to the zone boarding.